Thank you everyone for joining us, and welcome to 301's exclusive IG Live about the latest developments in Artsakh's ongoing blockade. I am Katya Derhovagimian of Toronto's Noor High Horizon. As we know, Artsakh has been under a full blockade for 157 days now. As the seasons change and the humanitarian crisis continues, what remains consistent is that 120,000 citizens and residents of Artsakh have never yielded or abandoned their righteous struggle for freedom and independence. Among the 120,000 people living in Artsakh who continue to resist for their right to self-determination is Executive Director of ANC Artsakh, Gev Iskajyan, who has been living in Stepanakert for the past year. Gev, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and I know having to wake up a little bit earlier to join us today.
It's my pleasure, Katya. Good to be on with you and the entire 301 team.
For me as well. So late last month, the Azerbaijani press agency reported that the eco-activists would temporarily suspend their protests, a decision that was made coming out of a meeting with Azerbaijani authorities and following the installation of a road sign at the Bersor-Lachin corridor checkpoint near the Hakkari Bridge. Ev, can you start by giving our viewers a brief update on the blockade and clarify some of these details? What, if anything, has changed with the removal of the eco-activists? And is there any transportation or any goods or people coming in and out?
Okay, so as for most of you guys who are aware, listening at home, the only road in and out of Artsakh has been blocked off, as Katya mentioned, for over 155 days, I believe 157 days now. That road is what we rely on here in Artsakh for food, for medicine, for all the other essential supplies and necessities that a population needs to survive, the population needs to live. So for well over 4 months that has been blocked off. During the time that this started, quote-unquote Azerbaijani eco-activists said that they were doing this to raise awareness about mining or whatever false flag operation that they had. But throughout all of this, we've always said that this was an attempt to cut off Artsakh. This was an attempt to put pressure on the population, and ultimately it was an attempt to ethnically cleanse the population of Artsakh. And as you rightfully mentioned, their quote-unquote protest or their fake eco-activist protest ended, and it coincided exactly with the timing of them putting up a military checkpoint here in the Hakkari Bridge into the entry point of Artsakh in what they call the Lachin corridor. So as soon as the Azerbaijani military put up a checkpoint that they can enforce through force, literally, that was the day that they decided to pack up their bags. So obviously we don't see that as a coincidence. We see this all as a part of a state-sponsored campaign by Azerbaijan. That fake protest was to buy time for them to set up a real military checkpoint to effectively close off Artsakh in any way that they can.
So there is currently nothing coming in and out. I know that in Brussels a couple of days ago there was discussions about allowing some transportation to occur. I'm guessing nothing has changed.
Yeah. So the Russian peacekeepers do come in and out, and also the Red Cross time to time comes in and out. But those to us are telltale signs of a humanitarian crisis. Anywhere that you see exclusively the Red Cross vehicles or peacekeeping vehicles being the only outlets let to travel back and forth from a place, usually is a telltale sign that there's a humanitarian crisis going on there. And I would additionally add that even the Red Cross, which traditionally has been seen as an organization that's been granted access almost everywhere, has had difficulty in the last few weeks getting access, bringing medicine, taking people that need medical care. This was reported, by our office. This was reported by the Human Rights Ombudsman, and we saw many reports on, Armenian media channels about this as well.
Let's talk a little bit about what's going on within Artsakh. I want to start by talking about the Change protest. For a little recap, a united group of Artsakh youth called the No to the Ethnic Cleansing of Artsakh movement have launched a petition on change.org demanding an end to Azerbaijan's genocidal aggression and are stipulating the implementation of the November 9 tripartite declaration. Can you tell us more about this movement?
Yeah. So, look, the basis of this movement is one thing. It is that any decision on the future, on the destiny of Artsakh, is to be made by the people of Artsakh. We think that's an incredibly simple goal. We think that it's a righteous goal too, and it's a fair one as well. That movement started actually as a signature gathering, initiative here in Artsakh. It was a way to show that the people of Artsakh will never live under the Azerbaijani regime, never under Azerbaijani quote-unquote territory, for a variety of reasons. First and foremost being the fact that they have the innate human right to self-determination. Outside of that, there's security concerns, ethnic cleansing, all of that. So this was born out of a movement where you have youth in Artsakh looking around from the EU to Washington, D.C., to everywhere else, where everybody wants a say in the future of Artsakh. Everyone wants to dictate what the outcome is going to be. And it was to say, no, we're not going to subjugate ourselves to ethnic cleansing. And yes, we are going to have a voice here. So that started as a signature gathering, initiative here in Artsakh by various youth organizations and other folks. It culminated into a rally where tens of thousands of people showed up. And we also decided to extend that as a change.org petition, just to share with for the people that can't sign it in person to be able to sign online, and for the rest of the Armenian nation to have access to this movement as well, to show the people of Artsakh that, at times we may feel like we're alone, but the entirety of the Armenian diaspora, the Armenian nation as a whole, is with our people.
And currently the petition has over 90,000 signatures. What does the movement, or rather the petition, hope to achieve?
The petition is to help raise awareness of the plight of the Armenians of Artsakh. One. Two, it is to build solidarity among communities throughout the diaspora and link them, bridge them with the people of Artsakh to create one common cause throughout. And lastly, it is to say that Armenians, especially the Armenians of Artsakh, will have a say in their future. That no document is going to be signed, no agreement is going to be put forth without the stamp sealed approval of the people of Artsakh. Everything else to us is essentially null and void.
And can you clarify who this petition is specifically directed to?
Yes, so the petition is directed towards a lot of the power centers and power brokers throughout the world that are trying to, insert themselves in this decision-making process, whether that's from the EU to the UN to the West to Moscow and beyond. And it is also directed towards, specifically towards the OSCE member groups, the United States, France, and Russia, to say that your involvement, your re-engagement with this issue, with this area, with Artsakh is incredibly vital at this time.
I mean, it seems quite preposterous that it has come to this. As members of the international community, specifically UN, they must uphold the R2P doctrine and should understand Artsakh's right to self-determination. Is there a contingency plan in place should the petition be ignored by these decision makers?
There's a terminology, in the Armenian language, our struggle is eternal. It is till the end. It is till we meet our goals. And I don't say that as like a sloganistic line or hyperbole. This is literally it for us. If we do not achieve those goals, if the people of Artsakh cannot achieve self-determination, if we cannot spread this message throughout the world, this will result in the ethnic cleansing of Artsakh, of the lands that we've lived on for thousands of years, our culture, our history, and all the future that we owe to, the generations coming up. This is our movement. This will go as far as needed, and we will utilize different tactics, methods, and whatever else needed to achieve that goal, to secure a peaceful, free, independent Artsakh, one where the rights of the people are heard.
A friendly reminder for those viewers who have not yet signed the petition can do so by visiting their Instagram page at artsakh.movement, hopefully right after this live. Is that correct, Gev?
Absolutely.
I know you called on this a little bit earlier, but I do want to talk about this a little bit more. In tandem with the launch of the petition, the No to the Ethnic Cleansing of Artsakh movement has also organized rallies and has launched an indefinite sit-in protest. You have been participating in these rallies and protests. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in terms of who's been participating, I would say, every segment and layer of society. The indefinite tent and protest that was put up, we've seen people from parliamentarians to former state ministers to kids to students to veterans to the elderly to the young. This was a petition, this was a movement started by young folks, but does not belong to any certain age group. It belongs to all of us. That collective salvation that we're working towards can only be brought forth by the collective synergy of the people of Artsakh. We have 120,000 people besieged, trapped against, working against a government of over 10 million people with all the resources in the world. So first and foremost, and this was the purpose of these rallies, this was the purpose of these gatherings, was to hone in that collective synergy of Artsakh, to say that, do we believe that we have a future? Do we believe that this future will be decided by us? If the answer to both of those questions are yes, then we have something to fight for. If we have something to fight for, we have to organize collectively together. And that is the process that we're in right now.
Thank you for sharing these profound examples of unification of the people of Artsakh. It is, I think, for me, even more emotional learning that it is carried out by the youth, and it was really a youth-driven initiative. Otherwise, what is the mood currently in Artsakh?
Look, the people of Artsakh have been through much. If you're talking about, this generation or generations beyond, these are people that in the last 30 years have seen 3 different wars. If you speak to Artsakhi's here in the street, everybody has a father, a friend, a brother, an uncle, somebody that has, given everything for this cause, someone that has been incredibly affected, not just themselves, but, people that have been martyred, people that have gone out to the front lines. Everybody has somebody here in Artsakh that has been affected by those wars. So our people have been through much. They've endured much, and they can endure this as well. However, that doesn't mean that we should just, think, well, Artsakhis are strong, let them handle this. Their collective burden, what they're going through, this blockade, the food rationing, the electricity crisis, everything that is compounded in this humanitarian crisis, what they're doing is not just for them. There's been many times where the people of Artsakh could have abandoned this land, and they didn't. And they didn't not just for themselves, but they did it for our future generations. They did it for our collective pride. They did it for, everything good that can happen for our nation by staying here, by fighting for something. So, in this crisis, we've also seen the people of Artsakh come together. We've also seen the people of Artsakh look out for each other, to share, to care for each other. All of those things that I guess are brought out when you're besieged by an enemy, blockaded, landlocked. A lot of, bad things can happen, but it also brings out the best in human qualities. And I think we've seen that here in Artsakh. But we have to remember, watching from the outside, what the people of Artsakh are doing today is not just for them. They are doing this so that we can make sure that we have an Artsakh to tell our kids, our grandkids about. We have something to fight for and something to hold on to. So we should never, take advantage of the fact that they're incredibly tough, they're incredibly brave. They need us no matter what.
I am seeing a few questions come through. I do want to pause and acknowledge we will not be having a Q&A session this time, but I do encourage you to ask questions, as we do have 301 colleagues on the call, and they will take those questions into consideration for future conversations. Gev, have you seen any examples of unification and neighborly behavior as the blockade continues?
Look, for those that are, watching from home, for those that have lived through COVID, I'm from LA, many of you guys are from the diaspora. We remember people fighting over like every small little item during that time, where we had everything in, full supply. It's not like we had shortage of much. Here in Artsakh, you have a real shortage of everything. You have food rationing, you have a crisis here. But you have people at the same time looking out for each other. You have people making sure that they don't buy too many of one thing so that another person, another family can get it. You have people that when they get access to like fruits and vegetables and all those essential supplies that, you unfortunately can't get all the time. You have people making sure they're reaching out to their nephews, their friends, their kids, everybody that they can to share and to spread it around. And it's a beautiful thing that in a time of scarcity, kindness, love, and all that stuff is in full supply. So it's very good to see. We see it from every layer of society, from the young to the old. And it's what gives me strength here, seeing the people, the way that they think. And I think it's a modeled example of how Armenians should be everywhere.
Gev, let's talk about the lobbying work you're doing. As Executive Director of ANC Artsakh, you have been working closely with the ANCA team in DC to influence and guide US policymakers on the situation in Artsakh. Can you speak a little bit about this and what you're working on?
Yeah, so our goal here at the ANC Artsakh is to serve as a hub to, yes, our ANC DC office and our ANC offices throughout the world. We've held calls with the ANC of Canada, with, representatives here in Artsakh, parliamentarians in Canada, and other, state and elected officials. We do the same with the United States. We do that with France, the EU, and the Middle East. So we serve as a hub to help amplify the voices of Artsakh, to connect the representatives of Artsakh with elected officials and power brokers around the world, and to serve essentially as a foreign ministry for not the Armenian government, but for the interests of the Armenian nation. And as you guys are aware, the reason that we opened this office in Stepanakert, the ANC office, is that we knew after the war that it was going to be incredibly hard to get journalists on the ground. It was going to be incredibly hard to get people that can document what's going on. It was going to be incredibly hard to get people that can phonetically have the language capacity to speak to, folks in the English language, people throughout Europe and beyond, and to connect our people with those power brokers. So this office serves as a hub between the ANC of Artsakh and the entire ANC network and family. We have over 30 offices throughout the world. We look at them as mini embassies, and what we do is try to carry out the cause of Artsakh through those offices.
My next question to you is a two-part question. As you know, 301 has a unique advantage of having an expansion of followers from across Armenia, Artsakh, and the diaspora. So I'd like to take advantage of that and give you the platform to speak a little bit about, or directly to our followers, speaking to the Armenian citizens living in Armenia. What role must Armenians living in Armenia play in ending the blockade and safeguarding the Artsakh?
Yeah, I think that responsibility of what happens to the future of Artsakh, that's a burden that we have to collectively bear. So yes, folks living in Artsakh, folks living in Armenia are a little more directly affected by that, but that is our collective burden that we have to bear. If you're in the diaspora, I would ask myself, what can I be doing to help build the energy and food and all the types of sustainability initiatives that exist in Artsakh today. What we need most is the ability to grow our own food. What we need most is the ability to have our own electrical output to produce our own energy. If we do those things, then we lessen the reliance on Azerbaijan, we lessen the reliance on anybody else. So if we can sustain ourselves here in Artsakh, and there's plenty of incredible initiatives from the ARS to the Laureate Humanitarian Fund to Artsakh Support Body, which build greenhouses, which build solar plants. These are projects that are currently ongoing right now, even during this blockade. I would urge our diasporan Armenians to always be educated with what's going on and to help tangibly with those efforts. To our, friends and brothers and sisters in Hayastan, I would say the same. Be connected with what's going on in Artsakh. It might be kind of far away from you. It might seem like a distant land, but there are 120,000 of your brothers and sisters right here going through this struggle. I would say be connected, be in lockstep with them. And I would say that any concessions that the government of Armenia is trying to make in the name of the Armenian people, in the name of the people of Artsakh, if they do not benefit the long-term viability, the future, the security, the independence, and the freedom of Artsakh, rejected. Rejected through all the methods that you know.
And from a lobbying effort, is there anything more we can do?
Yeah. For those throughout the diaspora, I would urge you all to go to anca.org. You can go to anca.org/blockade, and you can become a rapid responder. What we'll do is we take your email, we connect you with local representatives, whether they're congressmen or senators in your area, and anytime that we have a bill that's on the floor, one we're currently pushing right now to help end this blockade, every time that we want to put out a letter, every time that we want to circulate things throughout Congress, throughout the government, go to anca.org/blockade. You'll help be a part of that initiative, and we'll keep you in the loop with updates, videos, and all that other good stuff.
I think I can speak on behalf of the 301 team and many of our viewers here today. I hope the people of Artsakh feel their support and know that we are doing everything in our power to echo their voices in our respective countries. Gev, we are just about at the end of our call, but I do want to give you the opportunity to say a final few words. Is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers before we close?
Yeah, I think that this is an incredibly important time for the history of the Armenian nation. We have a homeland here, and I'm going to be, painfully blunt about it. We have a homeland that we can really lose if we don't fight for it. We have a homeland that we can lose, that if we don't work for it. We have a homeland that we can lose if we're not tied to it. The good news is we're still fighting for it. And as long as we're still fighting for it, as long as there's Artsakhis here living on the ground, we have a shot. We have a shot to not only maintain this, but to make sure that future generations can walk through the cities of Stepanakert, Martakert, Martuni. We can pass on our cultural heritage. We can pass on our pride to future generations, and we can rewrite history in its rightful way. We can make sure that what belongs to the Armenian nation is restored. But all of that takes effort, all of that takes work, and all of that takes us being connected to Artsakh all the time. We can't just wait for the next war, for the next blockade, for the next crisis. Artsakh needs us to be tuned in at all times. And I think that everybody has that collective burden, has that collective duty. One day our kids are going to ask, what happened with Artsakh? And they'll point back to this time frame. And we're going to have one of two answers. We're going to say we either lost it, or we're going to say against all odds, against all difficulties, we did everything and we kept Artsakh, and it is Armenian. And the latter is the future that we're working for. The latter is the future that I'm sure you are working for, Katya, many of our listeners, and the 301 team. But that takes work. And I hope that we're all committed to it.
Gev, thank you once again for your time and for your strength and unwavering dedication to Artsakh. It is always a pleasure to chat with you, and especially because you are a familiar face. To our viewers, thank you for joining us from wherever you are. I hope you found this conversation valuable and insightful. And thank you to the 301 team for continuing to foster these types of discussions and for keeping us informed on the latest developments in Armenia and Artsakh. I want to remind you that 301 is an independent multimedia news outlet that relies entirely on the contributions of you, its followers. If you would like to hear more conversations like this, please show your support by visiting 301.am or following the links on 301's social media pages. All contributions, big and small, can make an impact in ensuring 301 stays online and maintains its place as our trusted news source. Gev, thank you once again. Until next time.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye.